to me, it's impossible to try to get in between Percy and Annabeth, just because as time goes on, as seasons go on, they just go through so much together. And because of that, I feel like they will always have this bond, this invisible tie to each other that no matter what cannot be broken. Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Today's video I am so excited to make, just because I had been thinking about Percy Jackson and Annabeth for a very long time. I cover a lot of different couples on this channel, and I feel like I can confidently say that Percy and Annabeth have the greatest love story of all time. Like I said, this at the end of the day is a romance channel. I talk about a lot of different couples on this channel, and Percy and Annabeth are the only children that I've ever talked about on this channel. But there's just something about their love, both in the context of the fact that they are kids, but also in the world that they live in, with the monsters they're fighting, with the weight of the world on their shoulders, yet they're subtly falling in love with each other at the same time, I think is so cute and powerful, and I think really builds up to the greatest slow burn of all time, the greatest love story of all time. And in today's video, we are really going to be diving into season 1 and their arcs in season 1 and how they slowly find their way to friendship, because they don't get together for a very long time. Season 1, I think, really lays the groundwork for the epicness that is their love story, and I want to build that foundation before breaking down in the second part to this video their story in season 2. But something else I wanted to talk about with you guys is that I launched a Patreon, which I'm so excited for. I wanted to launch a Patreon for the longest time. I just couldn't really figure out how I wanted to go about it. I couldn't figure out the different benefits of launching a Patreon, but there will be bonus videos. There will be reaction content on there. I'm actually working on creating my first video for the Patreon right now. It will be edited by the time this video is uploaded, and I will put a little sneak preview here. Girls are throwing it back. Hudson Williams is on the big screen. Friendship bracelets are getting passed around. Like, this is like, we're the new adults. That was the sneak preview to the Patreon. Also, top tier members will get monthly postcards with whatever my romance obsession is of the month. This month, it is Ilya Rozanov, of course. I've already created most of the postcards as well, and it's only open to 20 people just because I am a one-woman show. If the demand is higher, I can always open it up. But that's all. Let's get into today's video. I'm super excited to dive in. As always, remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and let's get into it.
Earthshaker, Stormbringer, Percy Jackson, son of Poseidon.
Who is Percy Jackson? He is the main character of this entire show. He is who the show is named after. And I think to understand Percy and Annabeth, we have to understand who these kids are as people. Percy Jackson is 12 years old. He is the son of Poseidon. Poseidon is the god of sea, storms, earthquakes, and horses. And with Poseidon being Percy's father, he obviously has a human as a mother. His mother is Sally Jackson. We meet her in the very first episode. And before realizing that he is a god, and before going into Camp Half-Blood and the quests and all of the things that happen in season 1, in school growing up, Percy is kind of a social outcast.
Percy?
He's bullied. He doesn't have a lot of friends. The only friend he really has is Grover, who later turns out to not be just his friend, but also his protector as well. So yeah, he's definitely not like the most popular kid in school. And in terms of characterization, I would say that Percy has two facets to his personality. I think that he's sassy, he's blunt, he's unintentionally funny.
But still, if you're gonna live under my roof, you gotta live by my rules.
Your roof? My mom is the only one employed here.
But I also think that he's also kind and brave and fearless. I would say also, above all else, I do think that Percy is very clueless as well. There's so many scenes, and I guess this ties back into him being unintentionally funny. There's so many scenes where he just kind of says whatever's on his mind, and he doesn't really like read the room.
Oh. I get it. It doesn't have to be a thing, you know? They hug me. Oh boy.
I would say that Percy's season 1 arc is that of self-discovery and self-actualization. He doesn't know that he's a demigod, so he's coming to terms with being a demigod. He's coming to terms with his relationship with his father, but he's also coming to terms with his powers and how special he is. And I think that outside of his love, or outside of his story with Annabeth, I think by the end of season 1, he really comes into himself, and he's an incredibly confident demigod, clear with a long way to go, like in terms of honing in on his powers. But the shy kid we see in season 1, episode 1 is definitely not the same shy kid who so bravely goes to Zeus, the god of all gods, to essentially stop a war and potentially sacrifice himself for the betterment of the human race. So that's really Percy's arc in season 1.
I'm Annabeth. Are you stalking me, Annabeth? Yes.
Who is Annabeth Chase? Annabeth is also 12. She is the daughter of Athena. Athena is the goddess of wisdom, war, and handicraft. And Annabeth has a lot of mommy and abandonment issues. And you could argue that Percy also has daddy/abandonment issues. But because of his strong relationship with his mother, with Sally, I think that he doesn't have the same struggles with his identity that Annabeth has. I think that Annabeth clearly and obviously yearns for her mother's attention. And I wouldn't say she's a rule follower, but I think she definitely buys into blindly following the gods, even though we know that they're messy, even though we know that they're flawed. I think that a lot of the push and pull with Annabeth and Percy is Percy poking holes in the gods' thought processes and Annabeth being like, but that's just how it is.
The most powerful being in the universe's best idea to save his daughter's life was to turn her into a tree?
She was the bravest demigod I ever knew. She fought valiantly, and she met a hero's fate.
She met a pinecone's fate.
And the thing, though, for Annabeth is that blindly following the gods, clearly for season 1, has led to nothing more than just like pain and suffering for her. And that's why I think that her relationship with Percy is so good for her, because he challenges her to question how she was raised and question the world that she was brought into. Annabeth has a very tough exterior, but she has the biggest heart. I think that Annabeth is actually a secret softie, and I think that we see this more in season 2, and I'll get into it in the part 2. But I think that her tough exterior is a defense mechanism. I think that and I guess that ties right back into her avoidant tendencies, and it all leads back to her mommy issues, to her abandonment issues. But I think that she can be so harsh at first because I think that she fears letting people in, because she fears people abandoning her. And I think Percy gets the worst end of that stick, in the first couple episodes, because she definitely gives Percy a very hard time, even though she thinks he's so special and she's so intrigued by him and taken by him. She also gives him a very, very, very hard time.
Or not.
You don't want to call camp? Fine. Then at least let's call your mom.
Excuse me?
Athena? Your mother? I'd call my father, but we aren't exactly on speaking terms, because of the lifelong neglect and all, but you and your mother seem close, so why don't we ask her for help?
Grover, will you explain to your friend that he needs to pull himself together?
Annabeth is the backbone of the quest of season 1. She's very smart, very intelligent, and she does a better job at protecting Percy than Grover does. Grover is a satyr, so his job is supposed to be to protect, but he doesn't really do a lot of protecting. He's kind of just like there for emotional support, but I would say that the person who really does protect Percy, I would say, is Annabeth.
You're gonna need all the luck you can get.
Getting into the season 1 journey of Percy and Annabeth, I kind of just want to like go through what happens and where they end at the end of season 1. So from the jump, Annabeth is watching Percy because of the great prophecy that gives us our iconic line, "Are you stalking me, Annabeth?"
Are you stalking me, Annabeth?
Yes.
Okay. Why?
Well, I've been waiting to see if something like this would happen.
Because Annabeth from the very beginning has her eyes on Percy. Not romantically, but in the sense that she can tell that he is going to be / already is a very powerful demigod. And even though Annabeth immediately clocks that Percy is special, she does give him a very hard time, especially like I said for those very first 3 episodes. And when it's time to go on the quest of season 1, which is to get Zeus's master bolt back to prevent war, Percy does choose Annabeth. In his words, he says that he needed somebody that was not going to hesitate to sacrifice him for the quest. Little does he know that by the end of this season, Annabeth would willingly sacrifice herself at any given moment to protect Percy, but he doesn't know this when he picks her at first. Those first 3 episodes, it is really just Percy and Annabeth like fighting and Grover mediating. And I will say, listen, I love my girl Annabeth, but a lot of these fights are Annabeth fighting, and then because Percy is Percy, there's a lot of him giving that same energy back.
Can we talk about the bigger issue here?
What bigger issue?
You could have saved your mother. That's what she said to you, like you discussed it already. Is your mother still alive?
She's with Hades. But I appreciate your concern.
Guys, just please stop. Oh, I'm concerned. What are you actually doing on this quest, and why do I have to hear about this from Medusa?
Okay, while we're at it, you should have accepted my offer. What's that about, do you think? And why do we have to hear it from Alecto?
Enough!
I would say that Annabeth and Percy don't really warm up to each other until they defeat Medusa. And it's in the Medusa episode that the 3 of them, Grover included, have a heart-to-heart about loyalty and realizing that they all have each other's backs. Because also, side note, a lot of the reason why Percy is so apprehensive to Annabeth, in addition to the fact that Annabeth is literally giving him the hardest time, is that he received a prophecy that one who will call him a friend will betray him. And he says that he picked Annabeth because he never classified her as a friend.
You shall be betrayed by one who calls you a friend, and you shall fail to save what matters most in the end. That's the rest of what she said to me. I chose her because I couldn't imagine we'd ever be friends. And I chose you because I thought if I can count on anyone to be on my side, no matter what, it was you.
But it's in Medusa's episode where they all realize that they are friends and that they're not going to make it to the end of this quest if they don't have each other's backs. I would also say that the Medusa episode, I feel like, is when Annabeth first realizes her crush on Percy. I think twofold. One, there's this scene in the Medusa episode where after they have defeated Medusa, they defeat her by severing her head, and then they put this hat on Medusa. This is a hat that was given to Annabeth by Athena, her mother, and when she puts it on, she can become invisible. They take that hat and they put it on Medusa, and then he takes that severed head to then defeat another monster, Alecto, that has been following them. And as Annabeth is watching Percy do this, there's this zoom in on her face that, to me, her face shows all of the emotions of like fear and realization, and very much a moment of like, oh, I feel like I definitely have the potential to fall in love with Percy. And then I would say that for the rest of season 1, it's really just snippets of this growing tension between the two of them. So we get a lot of moments of Annabeth hugging Percy. She hugs him right before they go to the Lotus Casino and she realizes that he's still alive, in one of my favorite scenes ever. And also when he comes back from Mount Olympus, we get this shot of him coming into camp and then Annabeth running into his arms. And also all of episode 5. In episode 5, they go to Ares amusement park together and they end up in the Tunnel of Love, and that also gives us the iconic golden chair scene, which I'm about to get a little bit more into as well. But that's really like their love story in a nutshell for all of season 1. And on the surface, if this was where it ended, obviously I wouldn't say that this is the best love story of all time. But I think that knowing what we're building to, knowing that by the time we get to season 4 or book 4, you know, they're finally gonna accept their feelings for one another. I think that their story over the course of season 1 is just so, like, I don't know, beautiful for me to watch. I think it's incredibly age appropriate too. It's very on brand for 12-year-olds to navigate feelings in this way, but also feelings in the background of saving the entire world.
Why did you turn into an old married couple?
Not to change the subject, but I'm gonna.
And then someplace called Disney World, which kind of sounds like Waterland, but less determined to kill you.
Going more into what makes their love story so good, or what makes it so good in my personal opinion, is one, I think that the fact that their love is secondary to the main plot almost makes it more romantic to me. And when I mentioned the concept of analyzing Percy and Annabeth on this channel, I got some comments telling me that while their love story is incredible, that their love is second to the plot of Percy Jackson as a whole, that Percy Jackson is a fantasy first and their love is second. And I had that in mind when I was watching the show. But the thing is that I think honestly, because their love is secondary, I think that it makes the progression just that much more natural. I think that I love romance as a genre, but when romance is the plot, sometimes things can accelerate at an almost unnatural pace. Whereas when you're watching fantasy, I say this like I watch fantasy. I don't watch fantasy besides Percy Jackson. But in a story like this, where there's so much stakes, so much lore, so much world building, and the love in question are these snippets of tension over the course of the season, I think it makes it that much more natural and that much more believable that through experiencing all this stuff together, that they would be falling in love in the background. And number 2, I would say that also the fact that they are literally babies is also, to me, what makes this love story so great. And at the beginning of this video, I said that, you know, I've covered a lot of different character couples on this channel, all of them adults. These are the only kids that I've ever talked about. And what's crazy is that even though like they are 12, in my head, the joke I keep making is like these 12-year-olds are giving the grown-ups a run for their money in terms of love. Because I think that since they are 12, I think that there is a certain pureness and innocence to their love that I feel like I don't see in the adults that I talk about on this channel. That's not to say that those love stories aren't also great, but I feel like for Percy and Annabeth specifically, I think that the feelings are so isolated from like any influence from the outside world. Like these are, you know, children who they've barely seen the world yet. They've barely been here, but yet they're doing all of these actions, saving the world, while also just like purely and very innocently falling for the person right in front of them. And I think it's so refreshing for me to see, especially after watching so much romance with actual grown-ups. I think going back to remember just like the pure childlike wonder and whimsy of falling in love for the first time, I think is also what makes their love story so great. I also put to me that they're very Katara and Aang coded. Katara and Aang from Avatar: The Last Airbender. I think Katara and Aang are also similar ages to Percy and Annabeth, but also the stakes are pretty much the same too, where it's like people are dying, prophecies need to be fulfilled, but also at the same time, in the background, they are very slowly and naturally and subtly falling for each other. And I think that because of that, it creates this unbreakable bond where it's like, imagine trying to get in between Percy and Annabeth, knowing all of what they've been through together. And I know that it does happen. Okay. I haven't read the books, but I know that Percy has some other love interests that are not Annabeth. But the thing is that, like, to me, it's impossible to try to get in between Percy and Annabeth, just because as time goes on, as seasons go on, they just go through so much together. And because of that, I feel like they will always have this bond, this invisible tie to each other that no matter what cannot be broken.
What could it possibly be about if it isn't about that?
You're better at this than me. You just are.
And really, honestly, if I want to get into the scene from season 1 that I think captures Percabeth in a nutshell, that is the most Percabeth scene to ever Percabeth, I would say that it was the golden chair scene. And I think that this scene taught me, and it lays the groundwork for the rest of season 1, that Percy and Annabeth will always sacrifice themselves for the other. I think that at the beginning, Percy is really convinced that Annabeth doesn't care about him, that Annabeth will sacrifice him for the betterment of the quest. This scene proves that he was dead wrong and that that's not true, because I think by this point, especially post episode 3, post defeating Medusa, Annabeth and Percy fiercely and loyally protect each other no matter the cost. And in this scene, this is the scene where they go to Hephaestus's amusement park because Ares left his shield there because he was getting busy with Hephaestus's wife Aphrodite in the Tunnel of Love. So Annabeth and Percy go into the Tunnel of Love, and there's this shield, but in order to get the shield back, one of them has to sit on the golden chair and essentially be like suspended in time. I don't want to say dead, because like you can become undead, but you know, you're going to be gone for a while and the potential to be dead for a long time. And in this scene, Annabeth, without hesitation, is like, I'll do it. I'll sit on the chair. I'll sacrifice myself.
The chair is the bargain. One of us goes in, the other gets the shield.
I'll do it.
What? Wait a minute.
Whoever goes in isn't coming out. That seems pretty clear.
I know, that's why I said wait.
And Percy's like, no, you're not going to do it. I'm going to do it. And they kind of have this back and forth of like, who's going to sacrifice ourselves for the other person. And I think that in this moment, not only do we as the audience, but I think also Percy and Annabeth in this moment realize the strength of their connection. And I think that we get some really stellar performances from Walker and Leah, but also we get these lines of Percy saying that Annabeth is better at him than this, which is pretty much like the inverse of how Annabeth feels about him, because Annabeth feels that Percy is also literally one of the best demigods to have ever existed. And I think that at the very end, after, because it ends up being Percy who sits on this chair, he does sacrifice himself, but it all works itself out. And when Hephaestus comes in and Annabeth is frantically trying to get Percy free, and Hephaestus is like, if you leave him, if you take the shield, you know, you'll be on your way to glory again, and you'll be on your way to having your mother forgive you, which, you know, for Annabeth is a big deal because she has all these mommy issues. But she has this monologue where she says how the gods are ruthless. The gods are cutthroat. The gods don't care about each other, but that's not Percy. And I think that in this scene, not only are we getting this realization from Annabeth that she doesn't want to just blindly follow the gods. She doesn't want to just like blindly follow the path set out for her, but also we also get Sally's arc. Sally, who's Percy's mom, we get that arc coming back in too, of Sally has always been trying to keep Percy human and keep his heart pure because she knows how selfless and ruthless the gods can be. And so I think that what's powerful about the golden chair scene is how we can see how being friends with each other has changed each other. Like in this moment, Annabeth is starting to change fundamentally characteristics about herself. But also, I think that Percy is also, we can see the way that he's balancing both his humanness and also his demigodness.
Ares is that way. Zeus is that way. My mother is that way. He isn't that way. He's better than that. Maybe I was that way once, but I don't want to be that way anymore.
There's just so many cute scenes in season 1, but I think that above being cute, I think that these scenes, this love story, it's building to something so incredible, something that I cannot wait to break down in the next part of this video. But I want to know how you guys feel about Percy and Annabeth, how you feel their love is being portrayed in Disney Plus. Do you feel like the slow burn is too slow, or do you feel like it's too fast? I know that like this love has very mixed reviews. I mean, the show has mixed reviews. I like Percy Jackson, but I know that everybody feels a little bit different. But that's all I really have for you guys today. This is really laying the groundwork for part 2, which, listen, Percabeth really ramps up in part 2. So I'm really excited to talk about it then. Yeah, that's all. Remember to check out the Patreon. I will be putting another clip at the end of this episode of, you know, a little sneak preview. In this video, I will pretty much be talking about everything I've been through in the past month, moving to New York City, meeting Svetlana from Heated Rivalry, going to the Heated Rivalry nightclub, reconnecting with a past lover. Pretty much, yeah, everything that's happened in Aja's life in the past month, I will be putting in my very first Patreon video. But yeah, that's all I have for you guys today. As always, remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye. If you watch Heated Rivalry, and listen to me closely here, that is situationship propaganda. You are not Shane. You are not Ilya. 10 years of yearning and pining makes great TV. Do not reach out to that person in real life. You will regret it. It is a bad idea.